The experience proved so frightening that John Paul called a secret meeting with his top 4 cardinals to discuss the situation. The meeting took place on September the 28th, 1978. Only the 4 cardinals and the Pope were in the room. To this day, it is not known exactly what was said, but afterwards, the Pope was moved to take action. He ended the term of Cardinal Vilo as Secretary of State. This was the same Cardinal Vilo whose assistant had been blackmailed in the KGB films taken in 1972. Over the 6 years, this cardinal must have also been drawn into the Illuminati's web. Removing him meant that the Pope had uncovered at least part of the dark secret. But even John Paul could not avoid his fate at the hands of the Illuminati. That night, the pontiff retired earlier than usual and took with him detailed notes of the secret meeting to deliberate upon. At 5 a.m. the next morning, the Pope's closest attendant, Sister Vincenza, became concerned. His Holiness had never overslept before. She peered inside his door. John Paul appeared to be sitting in bed with a light on as if he were reading. Various papers were around him. But to her horror, his face was frozen in the same agonized contortion she had seen on the face of the dead Russian Nikotin only days before. After only 33 days as Pope, John Paul was dead. After more than 200 years of protecting their secret ways, the Illuminati was very thorough at covering its tracks. Although the Pope had relieved him of his Secretary of State duties just hours before, Cardinal Vilo took charge. As the senior cardinal, he was now, in essence, the temporary Pope. He first locked himself in the papal bedroom and collected prescription medicine from the bed table and most of the papers in the room, including notes of the secret meeting. Also taken were the candies the pontiff often enjoyed while reading, and even the Pope's reading glasses and slippers. All these items were never seen again. Next, Vilo sent Sister Vincenza away to a convent after forbidding her to tell anyone that she had found the pontiff dead and anything about what she saw. And then at 6:10 a.m. he ordered embalmers to be summoned. But the most shocking occurrence of all was that they arrived almost immediately. It was estimated that given the distance the embalmers had to travel, they must have been contacted at 4:45 a.m., 15 minutes before the time that the sister had discovered the Pope. At 7:30 a.m. a public announcement was issued. The cause of death was heart failure. Instead of Sister Vincenza, it was reported that the Pope's secretary, Monsignor Maggi, had found the body, and the time of discovery was changed to 5:30. By the time of the announcement, the embalmers had already done their work, just as in the all-too-similar death of the Russian Archbishop only 23 days before. Any possibility of 100% accurate autopsy was eliminated. If foul play was involved in the death of John Paul I, the chance to prove it was conclusively gone forever. Ten days after John Paul's funeral, Cardinal Vilo assembled the conclave to elect a successor. The official electing body includes 111 cardinals. Once sequestered in the Sistine Chapel, the cardinals must invoke the power of the Holy Ghost to guide them to their decision. But in truth, the principal candidates for Pope are not determined behind the closed doors of the conclave. These decisions are made in the elegant restaurants of Rome, where the most powerful cardinals meet for their dinners and lunches. When the cardinals finally entered the Sistine Chapel for the closed-door session Sunday morning, October the 15th, 1978, it became the scene of a theater of political manipulation on all levels. From promises whispered between cardinals to heated debates, with each ballot tensions elevated. After the 8th ballot, white smoke billowed up from the Vatican, signaling that a new pope had been elected. It also signaled a staggering defeat for the KGB and the Illuminati. The new pontiff was a staunchly anti-communist Pole, John Paul II. But the Illuminati does not accept defeat easily. On May the 13th, 1981, Mehmet Ali Agca, a man wanted in Turkey for murder, stood outside the Vatican Basilica in the crowd waiting for the Pope to ride through. According to Ali Agca's own account, John Paul came out of the Vatican about 5 p.m. in a white Jeep. As the Pope came by, Ali Agca pulled a pistol up and fired 3 times before being wrestled to the ground by the crowd. The pontiff was seriously wounded, but he would recover to continue his papacy. At first, Ali Agca asserted that he had acted on his own, but investigators became convinced that a much larger conspiracy had used the obviously unstable and dangerous man as a tool for assassination. Soon, Ali Agca admitted that the shooting was part of a Bulgarian conspiracy masterminded by the KGB. But of course, both Bulgaria and the Soviet Union denied any involvement. When the jury announced Ali Agca's conviction and life sentence, he seemed shocked that he'd been left to bear the responsibility for the crime alone. Then he began laying out the precise details of the conspiracy to Italian investigators, naming all those involved. On November the 25th, 1982, Serge Ivanov Antonov, an employee of the Bulgarian National Airline, was arrested in Rome and charged with involvement in the assassination attempt. Soon, the list widened to include 3 other Bulgarians and 4 Turks. In July 1983, as Agca was being transported to another facility, the world saw him publicly admit the KGB connection, as he shouted to reporters that the KGB and Bulgarian intelligence services were involved. Later, he explained that he had been trained in Bulgaria and Syria by KGB experts in international terrorism. He also admitted that Antonov was an accomplice along with 2 Bulgarian embassy employees. In 1984, Italian judge Lario Martella was convinced that the KGB and the Bulgarian Secret Service were involved in the assassination attempt on Pope John Paul II. The judge released this finding based on the following facts. Agca used a perfectly forged passport to enable his entrance into Italy, something available only from highly sophisticated sources. He also had enough money to allow him to stay for extended periods in Bulgaria, Switzerland, and several other European countries. There was evidence that he received substantial assistance in his activities in Italy leading up to the assassination attempt. In spring, the trial of 8 men accused of conspiring to kill the Pope convened, and the facts began to emerge. During the trial, several Turkish defendants testified that they aided Agca in his travels from Turkey through Bulgaria to Italy. Another said he had made payments to Agca from the Bulgarians on trial. One admitted delivering the assassination weapon to Agca in a Milan restaurant. By the 1980s, after 2 centuries of positioning their people in high places, the Illuminati had apparently gained control of the Italian courts. In the end, to the amazement of most observers, the Italian court found that there was insufficient evidence to convict the conspirators. The Agca case not only illustrated that the secret brotherhood had compromised the Italian judicial system, it also showed that the Illuminati had reached the very top of the KGB.